as you can see also there, hype and public exposure is moving from one service to another. Just remember, a couple of years ago, MySpace was at the top of the hype cycle, then YouTube, then Second Life, then Facebook. Now we're beginning to hear a lot much about Twitter. What will be the next hype thing? Well, it's quite hard to anticipate and to guess what will be the next big thing and for how long this will last. So the important here is if you are managing a brand presence in social media, is to be very, very reactive. So don't try to think and elaborate a very, very smart and very long vision presence or message. Just be there. Be there because those instants does not last very long. We are talking about months. So you don't have to use months to think of a strategy. You only have a couple of days to do it. Now, let's dig into more details in what you have to understand if you wish to play in the social media field. First of all, everybody has something to say, whether it's about a buggy product, like the famous Kryptonic block, whether it's about a sex scandal, whether it's about police force abuse, or whether it's about you have nothing to say but you just want to film yourself, or whether it's about marriage proposal on Twitter. What's important here is that you cannot hide anymore. You might be in or out of the conversation, but the conversation will occur. Okay, so it's up to you to be inside or outside. Another interesting chart here, the long tail. I think the first time the long tail theory was published, it was maybe two years ago. This theory states something like the sum of niche markets is bigger than the principal market. Adapted to social media and media, it sounds something like the sum of niche audience there is bigger than the principal audience. But this was true maybe 2 or 3 years ago. What we have seen in between is the multiplication of blogs and wiki and everything. So the tail part is getting longer and longer and longer. So you cannot rely anymore on famous or influential bloggers, which are in the first half part of the section. We already have some very reliable tools to handle exposure on mainstream media, like the New York Times, let's say banners. We also have interesting and viable tool to gain exposure on famous blogs, which are personalized email or invitation to events. But what about the second part of the tail? How do we do to reach this audience? And that's important because people is the medium. They carry your message. They carry your brand essence. I talk about people, the guy at the end of the tail, not influence bloggers, which are not people anymore. Okay? So maybe social media release could be an interesting tool. This is, I think, collective work on what will be the evolution of press release. The objective here is to change the tools and working habits in public relationship. The objective with this kind of social media release is to provide as many raw material as possible to the second half of the tail, and well, make the people talk and carry your message. Okay, so we are moving from a very standardized speech, traditional PDF press release, to something much more raw and massive. Now, this is the interesting part of my speaks. The part where I will try to guess what will be the next thing.